Hi, this is Denise Matthew. I hope you're doing well. Back again for another week of the transits. And we've got quite a few things happening this week. We have a lunar eclipse happening on May 26th, which is going to kick off the what they call eclipse season. We also have Mercury going retrograde, which I've talked about quite a bit for the last couple of weeks, that Mercury is finally going to go retrograde, and it's going to go retrograde on the 29th. So Saturn has gone retrograde in the gate 13, and it will actually retrograde right back to the gate 19. So that'll be something that we'll talk about when we get there. But for now, just to say that it has gone retrograde, and some people might have actually felt a change in the air or something, especially if it's an area where you've actually had some connection where it's made a full channel. So say you have a hanging gate 33, you might have felt it a little bit more. We've got lots to talk about, so let's get into it. May 26th, we have a lunar eclipse. And a lunar eclipse basically is a full moon, but it's, you could say it's like a full supermoon, and I think they're calling this the blood moon. The interesting thing is this is a culmination of the energy that happened in December 14th, and there was an eclipse there. This is a South Node lunar eclipse. And what that means is that it's a culmination time, or it is a time for us to sort of take stock of where we've been and what we want to let go of. Sometimes when we resist change or we don't want to change, and yet we know that something isn't good for us anymore, sometimes the universe will sort of step in and it will release it for us basically, and bring a change that maybe we wouldn't necessarily have done on our own, but definitely is something that we will feel better for having done so. When we look at the sun is going to be in opposition to the moon, so we see that the sun is in the gate 20 line 6 and the moon is in the gate 34 line 6. So this is 6 line energy, which is kind of interesting too, because it is a culmination. This is sort of moving on to the next gate, you could say, and with that would be the gate 16. We are moving out of individual energy, which is quite interesting because we've had quite a long stretch of individual energy. So if we look to the energy of this 6 line energy, so we're talking about something that has had a 3rd line stage with all 6 lines, which means that there's been this experimentation of the energy. When we get to the 6th line, because of the experimentation, we're always going to have this concept of wanting the best or wanting the maximum experience for that particular gate, whatever it is. The interesting thing about these two gates and the lines that they're in is that with the gate 20, we have wisdom, which is quite impressive in that what it says is that within this individual energy, and both the gate 20 and the gate 34 are both individual energy, but within this, the gate 20 is this ability to have the wisdom to share with other people. It's like this gift that you have inside you. And yet the gift that you have inside you is only released when the universe decides that it's time to be released. And that's when you can actually share your wisdom with people. When we look at the gate 20, that's where the sun is right now, and that is where we are moving. It is, the sun is almost right next to Rahu or the North Node. And as we see, the gate 16 is where we're moving. The sun will be moving to the gate 16, and then it will be right beside the North Node or Rahu or whatever. So what that's going to do is feed into that hunger to sort of want to do more, and that will be in logic. But for now, let's look at the gate 20, which is the individual energy. And when we talk about it moving closer to the North Node, because it's close enough to have an eclipse, we're talking to this idea of this gift that is potential for us, this gift of wisdom, this gift that is able to share with the collective that important thing, or that thing that only you can give. But because of the 6 line energy, there's this reticence about what's the point in it? Is there any point in it? But like I said, there is a gift that can come. And if you are open to allowing the universe to show you the way, or allowing the universe to give you that gift so that you can share your wisdom, then amazing things can happen. There can be some pivotal moments where you're actually sharing something that really does shift the collective. And that's ultimately what mutation and individual energy is all about. When we look at the gate 34, we're looking at a South Node theme, or something that we're moving away from. The 6th line of gate 34 is called common sense. This is where we get again to the 6th line. We've experimented with our power. We've experimented with how we can wield it. And yet we still might have this inability to see it exactly for what it is. What this says when we get to the 6th line is it says, okay, we have power. We can wield it. We can push people around. We can bully people. We can do whatever we like, because the ultimate power that we do have in the body graph does come from this gate 34. It's extremely powerful. And yet what we can do instead is look at it as enough is enough. I won't just be powerful against somebody because I can. There has to be good and a good and just cause. And there must be there. It's also looking at there another way of dealing with the concept of I need to have somebody uh, get in order type of thing. And I could just bully them into listening to me, but I know there's another way. And that's what it's all about. It's finding the other way of using your power in a way that you are getting people to do what is necessary for whatever, if it's for a job or whatever. You're getting people to perform what they're supposed to do, but you're not bullying them into doing it. You're doing it in a different way, and how that looks is completely up to each individual. So we can see this especially in relationships, this power in relationships, power to get people to do what you want. And as I said, it could be in a work relationship, in sort of a romantic relationship, friendships, or whatever. But this is where we get to that point, like I said, where we say, okay, I can use this power, but how am I going to use it? So this is the energy that we're talking about, using our own individual power and using it in a way that we feel satisfied, that we feel in integrity. We feel like we're doing what's right. And if you put it against the gate 20, because they are in opposition and they're always sort of, if we look at, for instance, the opposition, if we look at an opposition on any body graph or an astrology or whatever, we're talking about two different forces of energy which are pushing against each other, but and they can have a battle for certain. But the other perspective is, how can we work those energies that are completely different together in a way that we're satisfied, we feel good? And so that's the balance here. How do we find the balance? The gate 20 is right action. We did talk about the sixth line wisdom, but it is right action. What everybody else is doing something different, you're going the path that feels that it's right for, in integrity for you, whatever that is. Your authentic self wants this particular path because you feel it's the right thing. So it's doing the right thing when everybody else isn't. And the gate 34 says, I can just push my way through. So you have these competing forces. We want to push towards this right action, and that is the general consensus. So what do we have to let go of our power? What part of our power that we are using do we need to release? How do we reconfigure it? How can we make it into something that we feel good at the end of the day about? And that's what this whole eclipse is about. It's letting go of something that doesn't serve you anymore. And when you let go of it, you find something different that makes you feel better. It makes you feel better about yourself. Because ultimately, if you're using your power in a way that you're always bullying, you're always pushing people into your agenda, then at some point there's going to be this feeling that it doesn't feel good anymore. And that's sort of where we get this common sense. What is a common sense? And that's the key word for the gate 34. We also can look at all the other energies that are within this body graph, and we could say that this is an imprint of the energies that we might be working with. What I do notice is that, like I said, we are moving out of a heavy laden energy of individuality. Now we're moving into logic. So when we think about how mutation works with the collective, we get those downloads, we get that mutative idea, spark, whatever you want to say. And this is the time where now we're taking that spark to the collective and saying, okay, this is what I have. And you're trying to convince the collective what you have. And that's kind of what I see for this particular eclipse, working through those energies and understanding that we have to live true to the best things that we feel good about ourselves at the end of the day. There might be some reconfiguring where you truly have to decide and look at how you've been doing things, and there could be an effort required to actually change it. But the effort generally, when you have this kind of letting go energy, it actually does pay off tremendously in the long run. But it is work, because whenever we're used to doing something always a certain way, it is always going to be some level of work to shift that behavior, shift that what we've been doing into something different that makes us feel better. So, like I said, right now the sun is in the gate 20, and it's got a couple more days in there before it goes into the gate 16. This is going to be quite a shift because, like I said before, we have been in a lot of individual energy, and now we're moving into logic. This is, I would say that we're going to have a lot more media connection, a lot more conversations with people. I think that we might have sort of been withdrawn a little bit, not necessarily everybody. It really depends upon how you're responding to the transits and what you have in your chart and that type of thing. But there could have been this idea of just kind of wanting to get in on with your own space, doing your individual thing, getting those downloads, going into contemplation, especially with this week, potentially contemplation, but then you also have the gate 34, which makes things busy. So after that's over with, after the gate, after the 2034, because they're always going to be in opposition, this is where we're potentially saying, yeah, that was a pretty busy week. Now I'm sort of ready to calm down, to relax, to contemplate what exactly happened, because it can, and especially even undefined sacral, you might have felt it even more where, but I'd love to hear how everybody did with it. We all respond differently to what exactly was happening, but I think it might have been just a tremendous amount of individual energy, and individual energy can come with some level of melancholy. Other people might have felt the energy of power, trying to move forward, trying to get a lot of things done, getting very busy, or they could have felt this melancholy as well. And it's not something that stays around, but it is something that is noticeable if you're actually paying attention to it. And the thing about the gate 20 is it is about always being in this, trying to be in the present moment. And sometimes I think that if you look at the part of the gate 20 that can be difficult, is this concept of seeing things that you don't like, and you're very in the present moment, and you see that I don't like this, I don't like this relationship, I don't like this job, I don't like whatever, and just feeling like it all has to change. And that's all good and well, but seeing it in the present moment, it just shows you a direction for where you want to go, and eventually you'll get the clarity of how to make that happen. And if you can see it as part of the whole plan, as in you get the A, the B, and then the C comes after, instead of just saying A and that's everything. And I think that sometimes we can get sort of locked in this, everything is terrible, I don't like anything I have, and I want to change it immediately. And when that happens, because you have this push of the gate 34, which is pushing to get busy, to get things done, to use your power to get what you want, there could be that feeling of, yeah, I just want it all now. But now it's, the whole concept is you see what is in the now, but you understand that it's going to take time to get some clarity. There is no awareness within this energy of the 2034. The awareness comes from in the integration circuit, comes from the gate 54. So just all those types of things, seeing where exactly you can go in the future, and knowing that there is clarity that will come, and it will come for everybody. And you just don't know when it will come, and just being open to. And on May 27th, we have the sun moving into the gate 16. And like I said, the sun and the earth will be conjuncting or coming very close to the node, moving into collective energy. And the theme is mainly logic, because that's sort of the gates that are being highlighted. We also have, like I said, Mars is going to be moving into logical energy as well. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but the sun will be coming in contact with the north node in the gate 16. So that's sort of where we're going. And the gate 9 is where we've already been, and something that we're sort of good at already. So we're moving away from the details and moving into the enthusiasm. And what this sort of talks to, when we have the sun and the earth conjuncting or coming in contact with the north and south node, is that sort of like amping up of this energy, in that the sun is lighting up wherever it goes. So it's lighting up this idea of this enthusiasm, this skills, this experimenting with new things. The gate 16 is a talent that there could be potential for, but it's not something that will ever manifest unless the work is put in. The 10,000 hours, if you've ever read the book The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, it would be the 10,000 hours you put in so that you can be a master in what you're doing. The gate 16 is the excitement that goes out and says, oh, what can I do? What are the things I could find? What are my talents? What is that thing that makes my heart sing? You're looking for that thing that's going to light you up. And the gate 48 says, okay, you can be a master, but there's going to be a lot of work involved. And that's the gate of depth. There can be inadequacy in the gate 48 as well. So the gate 16 has this enthusiasm, this excitement, this childlike ideal of how it all can work out. And so it could be this concept of, oh, I just have to, read one book and I can be a master in what I'm going to do. And so if you on the shadow side of the gate 16, you could just think that, oh, I could do whatever and I don't have to really work at it and I can be a master overnight, and just wanting to have everything expedited and speeded up. And because we're walking on that path already, we know that it's going to be a bigger theme in the collective than it has been, because the sun is sort of, like I said, lighting it up or highlighting it and bringing into focus more those things that we're experimenting, those skills that we're wanting to have. But again, it is mastery. This is logic. This is a pattern. This is looking into the future from the logic. And that's how we look at this. So you can have as well this idea of being able to predict the future based on the patterns, and that could be within this energy too. The 1648, the whole channel, the channel of talent, can be highly intuitive as well, because it does come from the spleen, but the intuition that comes is intuition in the now, and that's the splenic awareness that we have. And Rauru, who said that the spleen is the most reliable source of awareness because it comes in the now. Right away you have an answer, whereas with the solar plexus, it is an awareness center, but there's also going to always be the emotional wave. Clarity comes over time through the emotional wave. And then with the ajna, which is another awareness center, it is related to this idea that it doesn't have any inner authority. The mind doesn't have any inner authority. So the splenic awareness is quite intuitive. So you can get a lot of intuitive hits with the 1648, sort of looking at the patterns and being aware from it. And I think that the more information when you have the 1648 or even half the channel, because you also have to remember there's always going to be some level of electromagnetics. You're going to be in contact with people, because the nature of electromagnetics is you're always drawing people, or you're being drawn to people with the match to your hanging gates. So the intuitive awareness that comes from the splenic awareness is from the 1648 is logical. It is about the patterns. It is about collecting information and watching the patterns, seeing what they're doing, and predicting from that what you'll see in the future. This intuitive awareness that comes from the 1648 or the 16 is in the now. It's in the moment. It comes very quick, and if you're not paying attention, then you may not necessarily get that hit, and you may not feel you have intuition. The 1648 is also called the channel of talent. This is a projected energy as well, and the thing about this talent is that you have to remember you start with this skill that you like, and yet you have to put in so many hours to make it better and better and better. And there's no such thing as perfection in truth. I mean, perfection is an illusion that we're always trying to work towards, but you're always getting a little better. And that's really as close as we always get to perfection. But every day you're putting in those hours, you're trying to make things better. And then what happens is you feel that you have the talent, and maybe you do, maybe you have worked so hard that you actually do have a tremendous amount of talent. And yet for you to go out and say, I am talented, I can do this, I'm the most amazing thing, and those types of things, this is projected energy. It's directly to the throat, and which means you can easily just say whatever you want to say, but there's no energy here. There is no motor. The spleen is not a motor. And because of that, this is projected energy. So there can be bitterness that nobody's calling you out for your talent. Or if you do talk about your talent, people are not actually listening to what you have to say because they have not recognized you. The key with always with projected energy is to know that your aura is speaking. And when the time is right, people will ask you for your input, or they'll recognize you for your talent. And when they do, that's when that magical moment happens where you can actually be seen and acknowledged for what you actually have been doing and all the things you've been working towards, because this is a lot of work. This is not something that you just naturally You're just good at it. I think that you could say even like the gate 35 would have more of this natural ability to be good at things, and sort of the 35 36 is natural. The 35, which is we know is progress, but it's also this ability to be good at a lot of things and not really have to really work at it, but you don't necessarily even want to do it because it's not something that you care that much about. Whereas the gate 16 is you care about it, but you also really have to put the work in there. And the other thing about the 1648 or the gate 16 is on that side of the logic is always going to be what they call starved for energy. And when we talk about energy, we're talking about monetary value. We're talking about money, basically, because there are no motors. So there's always this need to have some level of value for what you're doing. This gate 16 is one of the best energies if it is honed down and you are working on that skill that you're good at. It's got you can have skills for life, but it's a great teaching energy because you are doing repetition and you are getting better all the time, you could say, when you're actually putting the effort into it. But again, there's got to be some level of depth. If you don't have the depth, then you're not ever going to get the mastery, because there could be just an enthusiasm where you have, this could be buying a million different books and never really reading them, reading the first page of each one, but not really actually reading them. Whereas if you have just the 48, you might buy those books and you're reading every single one of them, but you never feel like you're good enough to tell the world about it. Whereas the gate 16 would be the first one to raise their hand and say, oh, I know. And maybe you don't. I have a story about my youngest son we were at a meeting for something, and there was a bunch of people. I mean, probably about 100 or more people. And there was a meeting happening, and then they asked the kids if they knew something. I can't even remember what it was. And he put his hand up immediately. He has the gate 16 hanging. And he got up on stage and he knew he had nothing to say because he actually didn't know. He just got so enthusiastic about thinking that he knew something that he was up there, standing there, and he was just smiling, but he felt really excited about being up there and potentially knowing something. So there is some enthusiasm and excitement in this energy, and it's a great energy to sort of liven things up, but the depth may not necessarily be there. But if it is, this is the energy of very, very amazing teachers that can be out there spreading the word. Ra-Uru, who also said that logic was basically the basis of a lot of human design, and logic was also what was going to put human design out into the world. So this is powerful energy that can relay an important message that we need to better what we're doing in the world. And that's what this energy is sort of talking about. We also have the Earth going into the gate 9 on May 27th. And this is all about small details. And this again is logical energy. It does hook into the gate 52. The gate 52 is a stillness to start to work with the energy that you have, or work with the ideas and the focus that you have. And the key with this energy is that within the stillness that the answers will come. When you're looking at the gate 9, you're just wanting more and more and more and more information. And maybe you don't stop and wait to actually let that information go where it's going to go, you could say, for you to assimilate it, for you to understand exactly what is happening, where you want to go with it, or those types of things. So this could be hyper focusing on something that may not necessarily be important to you, and you go so into depth on that, and yet you don't really get what you need. The other key with this is it's all about small steps leading to big changes. And I really do like that, where you're just slowly, brick by brick, you're making things. You look at it and you think, well, there's not much here. And then suddenly you have something that is actually very valuable that you actually hadn't seen because you were so focused on the small bricks that you're putting there. And if you can focus on those small bricks and not be in a rush to get ahead, because this could be, again, just more details. I can't really do anything until I have more details, and not having the stillness. And so we could say that the details are collecting all the bricks, and the stillness is actually laying the bricks so you have something. And each brick will slowly build into, you could build whatever you want to build, a house or whatever, you're building something. So that's why on its own, a hanging gate 9 can sometimes be a little too much hyper focus on getting the bricks, but not actually using the bricks to make what you want to make. But once you start to get the stillness to start moving things forward, collecting all the bricks so that you can eventually make something. And if you can slow down enough to actually have that stillness to be able to focus on the actually moving forward from just collecting, then you can do a lot, basically. And again, this is something that if we're looking at moving away from, if we're connecting it to the north and south node, which we know that they're going to connect, you could say that we're moving away from collecting things and moving towards finding that skill where we can actually use these things. If we're looking at these two together, we could look at that perspective of it. Right now, Mercury's in the gate 12, and this is all about caution. So this could be about, this is the voice of individuality, right? So we know that it is this reticence of, is it worthwhile talking or not? The gate 12 is a throat gate as well. And it does talk to the idea, is there anybody worthwhile to tell what I need to tell them about? And that's where this energy can come from. So we could have this people not really wanting to express what they have to say, being very careful, being socially careful about what they want to say in front of people. And if we look at the perspective of how this is working in the world, where we're sort of getting back to like being with other people, connecting with other people. Yes, you could go to social events and suddenly you're just not sure about what you should say or what you shouldn't say, because you've sort of been out of that loop of social behavior for such a long time that you don't really know what you should say or what you shouldn't say, and are you going to express yourself. So you're careful with what you're saying and what you're expressing, what you're allowing other people to see. This is individual energy, so we do know that it is about being authentic and really speaking from the depth of who you are. This is a motorized energy, so there could be passion within this energy when you want to talk, but there could also be this idea of just being quiet and not really wanting to talk, and that could be part of it as well. This is one of the three that we're going to be working with a lot as we go through with Mercury retrograde. And, it will be something that if you have like a hanging gate 22, like I said last week, if you have a hanging gate 22, or you have a hanging gate 36, or you have a hanging gate 21, you might be feeling these energies quite a bit, because Mercury will be really playing a part in these themes and how we connect and how we communicate and those types of things. And so it also is anything with retrograde, it's going back over things and going back over those ideas that you had, or the things that you've sort of let go. In gate 12, we could think about a creative expression. Was there something creative that you were doing that you want to get back to and start working with again? And with the gate 35, is there an experience that you want to get back to that you want to start doing again? And gate 35 is always going to be something that is worth your while. It's not going to be something that you just jump into. You want to make sure that wherever you're going to put your money, you could say, it's worthwhile. The other thing about the gate 35 is to remember that anything within the abstract energy, and the gate 35 is abstract energy, it's abstract collective. So like I said, we're moving out of individual energy, going into the abstract collective. Now this is all experience based, and this is about collecting experiences and those types of things, but also understanding that every experience that we have, the journey there is a lot of times almost the most important thing, because that is what we remember. When we go on a trip, a lot of times we forget that the memories are really the only thing we'll have at the end of it. The memories of people that we have lost, for instance, that's all we have left. And so when you're with people, or you're in an experience, it's about remembering that this experience is for me to collect, like a memory, so that when I'm sitting on my own, I can remember the good old days or whatever, and remember that something, that moment in time, and to bring it into the present again, so that you can actually think about it and that type of things. And right now Venus is in the gate 45. Mercury was just in there last week, and now the Venus is taking over. Now this is, when we look at the gate 45, we know that this is tribal energy, and this is the voice of the people. This is the voice for the people, the voice of the tribe, saying, okay, if you're part of the tribe, you need to do and say this, and that's because you're not going to get the benefits that we offer unless you're actually part of the tribe and you're doing and saying what you're meant to do. The thing that I noticed the most last week was that when there was a lot of people saying that if you don't, like for instance, when Mercury was in the gate 45, a lot of people were saying, well, if you don't if you're not with us, you're against us. And if you're if you're not doing anything, if you want to stand neutral, then that's just as bad as if you're doing something wrong. And so we really had a lot of this energy of people speaking for their what they felt like was their tribe, and saying and making rules about how it was all meant to be. This is the same concept, but I think it's a little bit more moderated, because we also have, it is in Venus. And so this could be saying in relationships, well, this is how you're meant to act. If you're going to be in the relationship with me, then you need to do this, this, and this. And if you don't, then it's not going to work for us. So there could be some of this kind of pushy energy, this regal energy. You have to do it this way because that's the way it's meant to be. I mean, even the way we care for our money or anything like that, anything related to Venusian themes could be about the only one way of doing it, and it's got to be the way of the tribe, and we all have to work together to be part of the tribe, which works very well if you are part of the tribe and you like that energy and that's for you. But as an individual, you may not necessarily want that, and you might push against it. So it's just something to think about. There could be some ultimatums in relationships or friendships, or even working. This idea of this energy of this is the way it's got to be done, and may not be, like I said, as verbal as it was last week. It was quite verbal last week, but let's see how it goes this week. May 28th, we have Venus going into the gate 12, and this is, speaking to the same themes as we talked about with Mercury, but this is more of a taking your time with, it could be taking your time with relationship. Is this relationship worthwhile? Is it's something that I want to spend time with? Can I be myself within this relationship? Those kind of questions, because when we get to the gate 12, we're talking about individuality. We're talking about authenticity, wanting to be who we are, no matter what that looks like, and being accepted for who we are. And so if you're not feeling you're being accepted, you may not want to be in a relationship if you're not able to be exactly who you are. And this is also an individual way of how we express ourselves, the resources we use, and how we're directing the resources. We might have different ideas, things that we want to do, the way we want to spend the money, or the way we want to do beautiful things for ourselves. And I think that even you could look at it as maybe a creative, wanting to create something beautiful, wanting to create something like Venusian, which is all about the pretty things in life, and trying to bring beauty into the world and those types of things. So maybe there could be this, we do have Mercury going retrograde at this sort of almost exactly the same time, a day after. So we could be having its direction of energy of into creating, but not only just creating things that make us feel happy and that feel beautiful to us, that bring some beauty into the world, whatever that is. And right now Mars remains in the gate 53. So we have a couple more days where Mars is working at planting those new seeds, and aggressively planting those seeds. Assertively, you could say, planting those seeds, like get those seeds planted. So this concept of starting new things, and with, like I said a few times, basically it's about something that you want to put the effort and time into, making sure that when you have planted this seed, that it's got the best environment so that it will grow and do what it needs to do. That is the key with Mars in the gate 53. So if you know what you want to plant, you want to initiate, you want to start something new, you want to start a new cycle, those types of things, to remember that right now it's about doing the thing that's going to have the best chance of actually making it off the ground and moving forward, because you can always reconfigure later on, because it is a cycle. You are going to start a new cycle. So make sure that whatever cycle you want to start, it's something you want to stick with. Otherwise you're stuck on the treadmill and you can't get off, and you can't change the program until it completes. And that's generally how this energy works, because it is cyclical. And on May 28th, when Venus moves into the gate 12, we have Mars moving into the gate 62, and again, more logical energy. So there's potential for a real push as to how are we going to get the logical infrastructure patterns back on track. And I think that is going to be the biggest key, is getting things back on track. The other thing about the gate 62 is that it is about taking those ideas that we have sort of floating around in our mind and starting to put those into form and trying to manifest them into something, because the 62 is one more throat gate, and at the center of manifestation is the throat. The other perspective of the gate 62 is bringing something to the collective that actually makes sense, that we can use, that we can better ourselves, and bringing those types of ideas. this could be a time of having more focus on get things back on track. As 2020 was, everything went off the rails. Now we're getting back on track. We're getting things up and running. We're moving into something that a pattern again, and that's, I think it makes a lot of sense why we have a lot of this logic energy, because that's what we're wanting. We want more patterns. We want more, we want more plans. We want more ability to know that things are going to run a certain way, and to have that stability to understand that this is what we're used to, and just kind of settling back in where, if we looked at the 2034, one more theme of the whole eclipse, we could say that if we look at the 2034 as an integration channel, and it is also this idea of survival of the individual, we're moving from a survival mode into something where there is some predictable patterns, where we can have a little more ease as to knowing that we can book a trip and actually it'll go through, and we can actually go to where we want to go, those types of things. So those things that we always took for granted before everything changed in 2020, maybe we can start to get back online with them. And we know that with Mars, there could be this push to get it quick, and get frustrated with the idea that it's maybe not moving quick enough. But if we can sort of step back and understand that every pattern takes time to get back online. I mean, it does, because when things have been offline for a while, it could be that there are going to be some glitches before it starts running smoothly again. And I think that's the whole big thing about this, is having the patience to understand that we are getting through the fog. I mean, if we look at this image, it is a woman walking out of the fog, and so the fog is behind her, but she still has maybe some fog to go through before she actually gets the clarity or the place where things are starting to run smoothly again. And that's it for the transits for this week. I hope you enjoyed them. And please be sure to check out my community page for, I do daily updates on the transits that are happening. So if you just want to know what's happening with the energy daily, just check that out. I am doing periodic, usually on a Monday, I'll post on Instagram as well, just kind of talking about the update on the transits that are happening, kind of like one little paragraph about what the transits are happening for the week. But if you want more, then have a check on the community page. I also do talk about the just transits to watch out for, or to be aware of, really just transits to be aware of, and those types of things. That's it for the week, and I will see you next week. I hope you have a super week. Take care. Bye for now.